New Teacher and Me by Yankovic, or Weird Al. Raise your hand if you have a new teacher this year. I do, and I have new students too. This book is about a new teacher, and sometimes our emotions are all over the place about a new teacher, but it turns out to be so special. What's really special about this book is Weird Al actually signed it. The first day of school, it was finally here. I wondered who'd be my new teacher this year. Then at 8:30 sharp, a tall stranger walked in. He stood by the chalkboard and stroked his long chin. He said, "I'm Mr. Booth, I'm happy to say. I'll be teaching you all about fractions today. Now open your textbooks to page number 3. And that's when he stopped. And he stared right at me. He said, "You young man, what's the filth on your shirt? You can't come in my classroom all covered with dirt." I said, "Hi, nice to meet you, sir. Billy's the name. See, a funny thing happened before the bus came." "There's Mr. Booth. There's Billy." I was digging to China out in my backyard, and I almost was there when I hit something hard. Well, I dug and I dug and I dug a bit more and discovered the skull of a real dinosaur. And I would have cleaned up, sir, but hey, I'm no fool. I just couldn't be late on the first day of school. Raise your hand if your first day of school was this week. Give me a thumbs up if your first day of school was last week. For a second or two, Mr. Booth kind of froze. Then he walked up to me and he looked down his nose. "I don't tolerate nonsense, no, not 1 degree, and your story sounds highly unlikely to me." "Why, of course it's unlikely," I said. "Oh, by far, the awesomest things in the world often are." For instance, this friend of mine, third cousin Ned's, got a farm where the dairy cows each have 2 heads. That's so highly unlikely the tourists will stop just to take their own pictures at $3 a pop. "Completely ridiculous," sneered Mr. Booth. "Please stop wasting your time and just stick to the truth." Well, the truth can seem crazy, like that day in June when my grandfather famously walked on the moon. Can you pretend to walk on the moon? And he played ukulele while flying a kite. It was all in the papers. You heard of it, right? You know what? My grandfather even implied someday he might take me along for the ride. The class started cheering, take us too!" Then Mr. Booth bristled and snapped, "That'll do. Pure poppycock class, please be quiet. Be still. He is not going off to the moon. Never will." "That's all right," I told him. "The moon is okay, but I've been to a much cooler place anyway." I just went on vacation with my dad and my mom to an island somewhere between Norway and Guam, where the blueberry muffins go right on the trees and you flip inside out every time that you sneeze. All the rabbits say woo and the poodles go neigh, and the traffic light colors are pink, blue, and gray. Look at that special place. Oh, and every third Thursday about 1:30, all of the gravity stops. Wow, was that ever fun? Whoa! There's a squid eating contest, and hey, if you win it, they let you be king for exactly 1 minute. Then everyone does what you tell them to do. Man, I sure hope we get to back next year too. Mr. Booth didn't care for that story one bit. He furrowed his brow and said, "Okay, that's it. Admit that your stories are simply absurd. I just do not believe them 1 single word." Aww. Then I cleared my throat and said, well, sir, you know, just 'cause you don't believe me doesn't mean it's not so. Just 'cause you can't imagine it, that doesn't mean that it simply can't be or won't ever be seen. I'll bet you every great thinker and leader we've got could see all kinds of people, all other things people could not. So then why get upset if somebody like me tries to look at the world just a bit differently? Everyone looks at the world differently. Enough, Mr. Booth said. No more of these stunts. You march straight to the principal's office at once. Something slipped from my book as I walked to the door. Mr. Booth picked it up. His jaw hit the floor. It was me and the cow with not one head but two. Oh, I said, I was planning to give that to you. It's a little good luck gift. I got it for free. He stared hard at the photo, then looked back at me. If you look at the photo, it says, for my new teacher, Billy. And the cow has 1, 2 heads. I avoided the principal's office that day. In fact, old Mr. Booth put my gift on display. He steals a quick glance at it once in a while, and I'm not even kidding. I saw him smile. We should get along fine, and it's certainly clear there's a lot we'll be teaching each other this year, like how all my stories are perfectly true. Except, maybe, for one detail or two. See, look. The end.